Hello and welcome to a brand new Doctor Who action figure review. In this video I'm going to be looking at the recently released 6th Doctor and TARDIS, based on the 1989 stage play The Ultimate Adventure. This set is exclusive to B&M stores at the moment. If you can get your hands on it, then do, because it's a fantastic set, just for the TARDIS really. As you can see, this set comes with an updated 80s, mid-80s TARDIS really, not from the Ultimate Adventure, it's more of a season 21, 22 box. And then we've got the 6th Doctor, which is the first time he's been released, I think probably about 7 years or so, I think it says in the box. And it's in a variant that we've never seen in figure form, which is his look that he only ever wore in the stage play. So we'll have a look at him first, because I think he's probably the figure that most people are interested in, because it's the most different. So the sculpt is exactly the same as all the previous 6 Doctors. This time it's worth noting that the head sculpt, or the head and the hands, have been cast in the flesh tone, presumably to cut down on costs because of the amount of paint that's on the rest of the figure. But unlike when they were doing this for like the Series 3 figures, I think it looks really good, because it's just really crisp, the sculpt here. It's actually my favourite 6th Doctor head on any of the figures, because it just looks the most like Colin, because the head sculpt's not hindered by layers of paint covering up all the details, so I really like it. The hair is nice, sort of a dark blonde, maybe brown, with a lighter wash over the top to give it highlights, gives it depth. Very nice, like what we've seen before really. I think it could have maybe been a bit lighter, because this is Colin a few years after he left, and his hair was lighter in his second season than in his first, but it's still really nice, and as I said, the head sculpt is all painted really nice. Go down to the coat. The general style of it is very similar in layout to his normal coat. I'll do a comparison of a normal 6th Doctor figure in a bit, but it's really nice. The coat is a base of blue, actually, it seems, based on the inside, surprisingly. You've got the purple lapels, which is very nice. You've got the red tartan sections in the same places as they are on his normal coat, which is really nice. You get the black collar and cuffs, which have a white cross-hatching lattice pattern, which is really nice. It makes it a bit more different to the pinstripe of his normal coat, and it's all done really neatly for the most part. It doesn't quite reach the edges in a couple of places, but that's not too much of a big deal really. And it's lined with a blue. I think it's probably the same blue as the cravat to save on costs, but no, it's done really neatly. Going on to his shirt and waistcoat, it's all white, but you get the red question marks on the collar, and you get lovely striped patterns on the waistcoat itself. There's a bit of gap, there's quite a large white gap, sort of above the chain, but that's on all the 6th Doctor figures for some reason. I guess when they're painting it, they just can't get there for some reason. And the chain's green. I think the buttons are painted sort of, they're probably yellow, not gold. But they look really nice. All the sculpting is still really crisp on this figure. So it's nice. Took a look at the back of the coat real quick. You get more colours here. There's a bit of pink. I think possibly where the green is on his normal coat. I'll have to have a look. We get just block colours rather than the tartan patterns and cross-hatching on his normal coat. It's just block colours. It's really nice. There's a bit of bleed on mine, you can see. It's blue going onto the red, and there's a bit of red on his shoulder there. But for the most part, it's clean, and it's on the back of the figure, so I'm not terribly bothered, because you can't see it. And then if we move down to the trousers, slightly different pattern to the normal 6th Doctor trousers. I think the colour yellow, actually, which is slightly paler than what they've done in the past, is actually a better colour for his normal trousers, because they've always been a bit too vibrant compared to the normal trousers, but it's really nice. And then they've got sort of alternating between black and dark yellow pinstripes, which just makes it a bit different. I'm guessing the trousers were like that in the stage play. It's nice. And then he's just got brown shoes with no spats this time around, which again is just more accurate to his costume. So overall, even though this isn't a costume that I particularly care for, really, I prefer his TV one, because I love that costume. But it's an interesting variant, it stands out on the shelf, and it's something a bit different. But I would have rather had a Trial of the Time Lord one, if I'm being honest. It's still a really nice figure that I'm very surprised at, so I didn't think I'd like it as much as I do. Moving on to the TARDIS now, no new sculpt or anything, because we've got new sculpts on TARDISes recently, usually lamps or roofs, but this is exactly the same as the previous 80s boxes we've got with B&M. It's mainly just an upgrade of paint apps this time around. As I said before, this is more of a sort of late Davison, early Baker TARDIS, where it was really quite beat up, which is my preferred version of this TARDIS actually. I think it just looks better, and the figure is really nice. Obviously the sculpting for the classic box is most heavily inspired by the 80s TYJ prop, I think it is. But it looks great here. The paint apps of the dark weathering with a light weathering put over the top just really brings it to life. You can see it's quite heavy in some areas, like on the door frame and on the panels and stuff. It's really, really nice actually. And another notable thing is the windows are a bit more like the Sharda ones, where they've got the slightly tinted upper row and the middle and the bottom, sort of a pinkish orangish hue, which is what the box looked like. It's not as vibrant as the Sharda one. The Sharda one probably should have looked like this, because it was a bit too pink and orange, which is really, really nice. My one doesn't have a lot of weathering elsewhere in the box compared to the front. It's quite non-existent really on the rest of it, which I'm not too bothered about, because again the front is the main bit, and there is quite a bit on the front. I think it looks great, but it's genuinely just what you get, at least with the new packaging, which I'll have a look at in a minute. You can kind of see around the sides. I just rushed and picked the first one on the shelf, but it's really nice. Got the lock and handle are painted, which they always are. The signs seem a bit more of a vibrant blue, which I really like, because I've always thought they were a bit too dull, a bit too dark on the previous releases. This is much closer to, because they were really vibrant signs. I still think they're probably not vibrant enough. I do think it's toned down by the wash put over them. But yeah, it's really, really nice. It's a lovely box. Quite possibly my favourite that Character Options have done. Actually, it's a lovely, lovely TARDIS. And even though it's not accurate with the sculpt, mainly because it's got the box under the lamp, and the sign box. The sign boxes have the blocks either end. It should just go straight across. It's just a lovely, lovely TARDIS, really. Very quickly having a look at the packaging, because we've got the new style guide. I really like the more vibrant colour scheme of the new style guide. Obviously it's predominantly white for most of the box, and then we've got the coloured accents, which is actually different for every Doctor. We've got yellow for Colin, and then on the 5 Doctor set it's blue, so that's, I don't know whether that's the 1st Doctor or the 5th, I'm not quite sure. But it just stands out more on the shelf compared to the blue and grey previous ones, which I really like as like collector's boxes, but as toy boxes, the white is just so much better, and it really pops, and it just looks really nice. Now, my only issue with the box for the TARDIS, and it's exactly the same as what happened with the David Bradley TARDIS last year, is that it's not got a window. So the TARDIS, and more importantly, the Sixth Doctor, is exposed in the box. So it's not only easier to... I mean, you couldn't get the TARDIS out. You could get this out if you tried, which you shouldn't. But they're easily damaged. I remember last year when I was getting the David Bradley one, quite a few of them were missing noses and these big paint chunks off the figure, which is a shame. Obviously it's better that using... I mean, the only plastic on this is the ties holding Colin in, and there's a bit on the top to house the lamp of the TARDIS. But it's just not as protective of the figures. It's not so bad on the Dalek sets, which is sort of a blister card, but the figures are completely enclosed in the plastic. But here, the figure can get damaged, which is a shame, really. And very quickly doing a comparison between the new TARDIS and the Kaiser and Zani version, which is the most recent chronological to this TARDIS. I just think the new one looks so much better with the weathering. It just had so much more depth, and it just looked more accurate for a start. Especially the signs, this is what I mean, where they're really dark and they shouldn't be. These are, putting them next to each other, these are really vibrant, it's nice. And the windows, obviously, are different, but yeah, I just think it's just so much better. And very quickly comparing the two Sixth Doctors, the new stage play version and the normal Attack of the Cybermen Season 22 costume, you can really see the similarities in the layout of the costume, so it's not so far removed, but it's really nice actually. I do like this costume. I prefer the TV one. I know it's quite a controversial costume for obvious reasons, but I do like it. But as you can see, the paint apps on the head, or rather lack of paint apps really, the likeness to Colin Baker is just so much better, with not having the layers of paint obscuring the sculpted details, which are quite fine really. They're not really noticeable, so getting it like this is great. So there we have it, that is my review of this set. I really recommend it. I didn't expect to love it as much as I do. I definitely think it's worth it just for the TARDIS, because it's easily the best 80s one we've got, and arguably one of the best ones character I've ever made. So if you don't have an 80s one, or you just want a better one, or good enough reason, you want one for Colin because he was the only Doctor who didn't have one, get it. Especially for the 25 quid, because originally it was going to be 35, but they're selling it for 25. It's definitely worth it. And the new Sixth Doctor, while not a particularly iconic costume, because I don't think a lot of people really knew what it was before the figure was revealed, but it's definitely worth getting, because it's still a really nice figure. So yeah, thank you all for watching. I will try and do reviews of the other two sets soon, because I want to start doing more figure related videos, because it's a big part of my Doctor Who fan life, collecting the figures. So yeah, thank you all for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.